Fulton versus Naoya Inoue gets things started on this hot boxing week. What's up? Paulie Malaj here for Paulie TV. This one is very, very much anticipated. At times, I think it's been flying a little bit under the radar, being it's coming on the week of Spence versus Crawford. But nonetheless, it's upon us. And for those hardcore boxing fans, you know who you are. We have been waiting for this one. This is a really good fight. Both fighters deserve credit for making it happen. Fulton for not moving up in weight before he made it happen, and for Inoue to show up at the new weight class and take on the best guy at the weight class. You know, so a terrific matchup between two young guys, two hungry guys, and two very, very, very good fighters. Great clash of styles as well here. We have Fulton, who's a real slickster in a Philadelphia way. You know, he's a slickster, but he's not really a runner. You know what I'm saying? He's in there. He's very, very crafty on the inside. Can give you those little side shoves and then use his body to create space and whatnot. I think that can also come into play in this fight because physically he's the bigger guy here than Inoue. So I'm wondering if some of that bumping off to create little spaces to kind of maneuver Inoue into little positions where he gets the better of the exchanges on the inside can really be helpful. And of course, he's shifty, which is going to be necessary against a big punch in Inoue. So a good fighter is Stephen Fulton, and got to give him credit for making the fight as well and not moving up in weight before he makes the fight, because he could have easily done that. Inoue is a guy who's been looking for the best fighters to fight constantly. And anytime he moves up into a new weight class, he's always looking for the top fighters to fight. He's been in some good fights. For example, the Nonito Donaire fight, I was really impressed with him. I was impressed with Nonito. I was also impressed with the way he came back in the rematch and blew away Donaire. I was also impressed with the way he beat Emmanuel Rodriguez, who I thought was a very crafty boxer and had been very impressed by him. And Inoue just blew him out in 2 rounds with the body shots. And that's one of the things about Inoue. He actually is a devastating head puncher, but he's also a really devastating body puncher. So he's a handful in that way, and he's very, very explosive in the way he delivers his shots. I'll tell you what, the matchup head-to-head is interesting because I see two interesting things that both guys can take advantage of with the other. With Fulton, a lot of times I notice when he's doubling and tripling up his jab, he ends up on his front foot. This kind of falls into something that Inoue does very well, because Inoue has a counter right hand over the top of your jab and also will slip and shoot that left hook and to counter your jab as well. And it makes it easier for him if you're front foot heavy, if you're on that front foot, because your head is sort of laying out there when it's like that. So something Inoue can take advantage of if Fulton doesn't make this adjustment, and it's something that Fulton kind of does naturally when he starts to repeat his jabs and then try to close the gap and use that 2-3 jabs and then move into a right-handed combination afterwards. Initially, though, when he's doing that, he sometimes gets on the front foot. Inoue, on the other hand, he ends up stalking you, coming at you, and his hands are kind of all over the place when he's doing that. But right before he's about to punch, he has a tendency to put both hands up in a high guard before he punches. He won't punch until he puts those hands home to kind of like a sort of like in a holster in order to fire from there. It's interesting because once he does start firing, they don't necessarily have to come back to the holster, but he won't start punching until his hands are up high. So it's something that a guy with the shiftiness of Fulton can take advantage of, where Inoue can start to maybe get to him, and then when he's about to punch, he has that tell. Fulton can use that jab and pop out of the range and then kind of make Inoue pay when he starts to come back towards him, or just bail out when he sees that Inoue is putting that high guard, or even drop a feint. A simple feint at times will sort of disrupt that as well. So some things that both guys can take advantage of here as I was analyzing both of their styles. The talk going into fight week and going into the fight has been the hand wrap of Naoya Inoue. This is actually something that I have had experience with this controversy about double stacking with the tape. Now, double stacking with the tape, in my experience, I had a lot of hand problems. Double stacking the tape means you tape the skin first, then you wrap the hand with gauze, and then you tape over that. So you're basically double stacking the tape, and then you have skin on your tape on your skin, then gauze, and then tape over the gauze as well to hold the gauze in place. And some people say that increases punching power. I'll tell you what it does do for sure. I'll tell you, it protects your hand a lot better. A lot of times I try to do this with commissions, and depending on whether the commission has a guy who wants to decide to make himself the center of attention or not, or a girl for that matter, because some commissions are headed by women, a guy or girl who's trying to make himself or herself the center of attention, they may change that rule here and there. I've fought in New York and Vegas and LA where at various times it was allowed and at various times it was not allowed. I would show up at a commission where I had done it before, and all of a sudden the rule had been changed because a new commissioner had taken the charge, and he decided, or he or she decided, that that wasn't going to be allowed, and vice versa. Then some commissions will just not allow it all the time, and then some commissions will allow it all the time. Ultimately, I think it's blown out of proportion as far as it increasing hand punching power. I remember when I was young, as a teenager, watching Oscar De La Hoya against Wilfredo Rivera, and on the undercard, they cut to Oscar's locker room, and you can see Robert Alcazar has taped the hands of Oscar on the skin, basically naked taping, and then before he's going to apply the gauze and then the tape on top of it. So again, at various points in time, Vegas had allows and disallows this. You know, I remember when I fought on Showbox in Nevada in 2004 in Laughlin, they told me that I couldn't apply it on the tape, but they said that I could apply one layer of gauze and then apply the tape and then wrap over that, which I thought was absolutely meaningless, and I thought it was absolutely moronic, because if you're gonna, one layer of gauze is paper thin, so what's the point? You might as well let me put the tape on the skin. But either way, like I said, this is actually one of those things that gets blown out of proportions in moronic ways, you know, and it gets to that point. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Stephen Fulton is playing mind games here. I think Stephen Fulton and the team, they kind of know, and Naoya Inoue has had hand issues. He's coming off of a hand injury, so he's going to want to protect his hand as good as he can. So keep in mind that another Philadelphia team had done this 22 years ago when Bernard Hopkins played these mind games with the hand wraps in the Felix Trinidad fight, and you know, with Nassim Richardson creating issues there in the dressing room, and that worked to a T, because Trinidad just, you know, it got in his head a little bit, and Hopkins ended up coming out there and dominating the fight. So I think, you know, the Philadelphia connection with Fulton, and the fact that Inoue has had the hand issues, I think these are psychological games being played by Fulton and the team, which I don't mind, honestly. You know, a fight is you know, a mental and psychological battle. I don't mind. You know, it's not one of those things where you're going to decide not to show up and fight, though. You know, that's a little bit different. You know, I think ultimately you play these games, but you know, you are intending to show up and fight, you know, and I think Fulton will show up on fight night and fight the fight, you know. But we'll see how it affects from a psychological perspective Inoue, or if he just pisses him off more, because Inoue's kind of an explosive fighter who to me seems like he also feeds off of this kind of energy, you know. I don't think anything's going to change with the commission, and ultimately, my opinion, I don't think that does increase your punching power. Like I said, I've done that wrap on my hands, and what it does is it protects your hands. As a matter of fact, I actually was speaking to this with a couple of people. That's how I wrap my hands in the gym my whole career. I used to tape the skin first and then wrap my hands and then tape over that to protect my hands better in training. For that reason, despite the fact that I had so many hand problems in my career, I never had hand problems in the gym. I only had hand problems in fights. You know, so that is a very good way of protecting your hands. And Naoya Inoue, who's coming off the hand injury, is obviously going to want to protect his hands as much as possible, and it may play on his mind if you try not to let him protect his hands as much as possible. Regardless, I think we had a great fight on our hands. I do think Fulton is eventually going to show up in the ring. I think his team also know that these are just mind games and nothing more. So I think ultimately, you know, we got a great fight, a great clash of styles. The slickster against the explosive puncher. Both have good speed. You know, we'll see. You know, I think Fulton can possibly be the best opponent for Inoue, but there have been guys that I've said that about when they got in the ring with Inoue, and Inoue blew them away. Like I said, I mentioned Emmanuel Rodriguez, for example. I thought he was going to be a good opponent, and he just got blown away in a couple of rounds. So I'm really curious about how the things play out. Fulton is physically bigger. I don't think that comes into play because Fulton is not a physical fighter, but what I do think he can use it is in the ways that I said earlier in the video, where, you know, he can shift around Inoue on the inside and put him in positions where, you know, where Fulton has the better angle, and you can do that by physically shifting him around. Also, you can smother Inoue's power work on the inside, because Inoue's going to try to stalk him and then make him run out of room if Fulton can smother him. And I think with the bigger build, with a bigger physical frame, he'll be able to smother Inoue a bit better and bump him off. That also can be advantageous. But again, Inoue has good counter punching. He's devastating to the head and to the body, and ultimately I think he ends up catching up to Fulton with a KO in about round 9 or 10. I'm looking forward to a good fight. Again, Inoue has shocked me in a way where I thought guys were going to put up a good fight, and he's knocked them out in 1 or 2 rounds. I don't see Fulton going out that way. I do see Fulton actually presenting some problems early on before he ends up going out. But let's see how the fight plays out. This is Paulie Malignaggi. This is Paulie TV. Let me know what you guys think in the comment sections. Let me know who you guys are picking first and foremost, and how you think the styles of these two fighters blends together.